This is back in March of 2006. There was a United States senator that said the fact that we are here today to debate raising America's debt limit is a sign of leadership failure. It's a sign that the U.S. government cannot pay its own bills. It's a sign that we now depend on ongoing financial assistance from foreign countries to finance our government's reckless fiscal policies, and that was Senator Barack Obama back in 2006. What happened to him?
Well, the same thing that happens to so many politicians. One time we had a president with no new taxes, and he got into trouble over that. So you have a president that said, don't raise the national debt, and makes a good argument for it. And that just adds to the cynicism of the people. But I keep arguing that we're concentrating on the budget, but it's a little bit bigger problem than that. I think it's the nature of government that has to be addressed. The momentum is so great to finance and continue big government that nobody's going to give in and say, cut my program. So they're going to be continuously fighting, and as long as they can resort to going back and printing the money, they will. Now, states have a bigger burden because they don't have a printing press, so they will have a lot more pressure to cut back. But the federal government is sort of immune from that, except for the political pressure, which is good. I won't vote to raise the national debt. Even if they make some token promises, I've heard that too often in the past. So I don't vote for any of the spending, so hardly should I be responsible to raise the debt limit. And the people who have voted for all the spending, they're hypocrites if they don't vote to raise the national debt. They ran up the debt, they ran up the spending, and there's a bunch of Republicans and Democrats who have done that. So, but the new people have the toughest job. They didn't run up the deficit, and they'll have a lot of pressure on the new members not to vote to raise the national debt. I think it's the nature of government that has to be addressed. And as long as we assume that we can take care of people cradle to grave and that we can run our military operations around the world and be the policeman, I mean, it's just impossible. And I've also argued that empires, and which I believe we have because we're in so many countries, they always come to an end. And even if we did do a great job in the Congress, just think if there's a crisis, an ongoing crisis, and this continues, I mean, the Fed, we 1.2 trillion, another $600 billion. That is out of control too. That's indirectly a tax, and that affects the people, and that's totally off budget, and no supervision of that. So we got to get a grip on the size and scope of government. What's the purpose of government? They're talking a lot more about the Constitution, which pleases me, but I don't think they all have the same interpretation of the Constitution. Well, they have to be less independent. They have to have some of their powers taken from them until we get rid of them. Of course, we're not going to get rid of them. I'm afraid if we continue to do what we're going to do, they'll destruct themselves because they'll destroy the money. But they've changed. The Congress has changed the rules. It was in '78 they gave them the mandate to make sure we have low unemployment, but look at what they've given us. So they give us unemployment. They never solve the problem of unemployment. They give us our bubbles and they give us our recession. So the Congress has authority to do whatever they want. They can abolish the Federal Reserve. They can put more restraints on them. They could limit the amount of money they can inject. They could write a lot of laws. And people say, oh no, they have to be independent. We don't want to be political. Well, they're very political. The fact that they could bail out a foreign bank over bailing out a homeowner in this country, that's very political, and they do it in secrecy. So this idea that if Congress had more oversight, it's going to be more political. But I want to make it clear, I'm not in favor of the Congress doing what the Federal Reserve pretends they can do, and that is centrally economic plan, tell you how much money supply there should be, what the interest rate should be. No, that wouldn't be a good idea to have the Congress doing that.